Recently in Canada, you will start seeing headlines like this and this, saying that people are leaving Canada at a rate that is almost higher than in the last 50 years, So people are leaving, and these are the reasons. Number one, settling in Canada is difficult. Look, as an immigrant coming from wherever country you're coming from, you realize that it's so tough to settle in Canada. Reason being a lot of factors. One of it is accommodation. It's so tough to get accommodation as an immigrant here in Canada, because when you land in Canada, the first thing you're thinking about is where to live. And you go online and you see the prices of apartments. Let's look at Toronto, for example. This is a listing that is going for 2,600. This is absurd. This is just a one-bed apartment. It's too expensive. So settling in Canada can be so expensive, starting from accommodation. Another issue is the requirements by landlords. You see posts on Kijiji or Facebook Marketplace requesting for a lot of things from immigrants. For example, coming into Canada and you're looking for a place to rent, some landlords will be asking you for credit score reference from your previous landlord and all that. And it's so tough to get this. That is why you see people, just having to stay in the basement with maybe family and all that for some time before they are able to get a place for themselves. Another issue about settling down in Canada is getting a job. When you're trying to get a job, your recruiters, companies are asking you for Canadian experience. Now, as someone that has just landed in Canada, how do you get Canadian experience if nobody is taking a chance on you? So it's so crazy, because for you to get a good job, they would require Canadian experience. And how do you get that experience, And another thing is the high entry barrier, into regulated professions. Considering the policies in Canada, where we know that Canada wants immigrants, they want high quality immigrants to come into this country. It is absurd that the system doesn't make it easy for people to actually get into their preferred profession. We're talking about regulated professions like maybe lawyers, doctors, nurses, pharmacists, and all that. It's so crazy, because you take certifications upon certification, and if you are not so resilient, I bet you'd want to go back to where you're coming from. Recently, I read in the news of a medical doctor who has been trying to get licensed in Canada for over 5 years, and he recently just left the country. He moved to the United States, So, and more of this is happening. That one is just one of many, that hit the news media. And it's so annoying, because considering the situation on the healthcare in the country, where there's long wait times, we need more doctors, I find it absurd that the system is not making it easy for people who have good experience, who have been trained, from their own country, to easily be absorbed into the healthcare system here in Canada. The same thing goes for many other regulated professions like construction. We're talking about a shortage of housing in Canada right now, but we have people who have construction experience from back home in their country, and they're unable to, get in easily. You see, there's so many requirements. I understand that it's a safety concern, and because people's health and all that, but then Canada should make it easier for people to really come into the system, So that's just one part of it. Another reason people are leaving Canada is the cost of living crisis. It's so crazy now, because things are expensive. On my channel, I have a video of some years ago when we went grocery shopping for my family of 3. And looking at that video now, when I compared the price we paid for those commodities for our grocery that year, I'm talking about 2021, and now we're looking at almost 100% increase. We're spending double now to fend for ourselves, to feed. Things, as prices are high now, And it doesn't seem like the government is doing enough to get it under control. Inflation is skyrocketing right now, and it looks to me like the policies are just doing the opposite of what they are meant to do, because now the Bank of Canada has increased interest rates, but instead of prices to come down, we're still seeing things being expensive. So what do we do? And for a lot of people who have options, they will definitely pack their bags and leave this country because of all this, and considering the fact that the United States is just some kilometers away, the difference in the amount of money you earn on the same job in Canada is so wide when you do the same job in the US, and I don't know why it just doesn't make sense, considering the fact that it's the same job, but the salaries are just different. The salaries are just different. So we see a situation whereby people are just staying back in Canada for some time, to get their Canadian citizenship, get their passport, and get out of Canada. People are moving to the US. It's crazy, and the reason is because there are better wages in the US, unlike here in Canada. Another thing I want to touch on is the fact that a lot of Canadians are right now one step away from being homeless. Just last week I read in the news of a man who is unable to, now pay for rent for himself and his son. He earns $75,000 per annum, but he is unable to still get a 2-bed apartment or a 1-bed apartment, because the average amount for rent for a 2-bed apartment in Toronto right now is $3,100. Just imagine. And if you earn 75K, you'll be taking home monthly maybe about 4K or about 4,500. And does it mean you'll be spending more than 60% of your income on rent? It just doesn't make sense, And I don't see what the government is really doing. Of course, they will talk about the grocery rebates, I don't know, all these benefits, but it makes no sense. The amount the government is giving back to support is just not cutting it at all, And we talk about taxes, taxes right now, people now feel the impact of the high taxes that we're paying because of the fact that things are more expensive now. So people are just pissed off like, oh, I'm paying so much taxes. What is remaining is so little, it's not enough for me to live on. Why am I in Canada? Maybe I should move somewhere else. Of course, I know that these reasons that I've discussed so far, some people would say that if you're an immigrant in Canada, you should have done your research and learned about all this. But the truth is that Canada enjoys a lot of positive PR. Nobody is really talking about, not enough people, are talking about the issues that we are facing. And that is one of the reasons why I'm making these videos, so that whoever is making a decision to come to Canada, they would know what the real situation is and make an informed decision. The third reason people are leaving Canada is because the healthcare system is broken. Considering the fact that we have so many doctors coming into Canada, why does it take so long for you to get a family doctor? Why does it take so long when you go to the emergency room? Sometime last year, I had the reason to take my toddler, to the ER. We waited more than 6 hours before we could see a doctor. We spent about 4 hours or 5 hours in triage. And when they moved us into a room, we stayed more than an hour, almost 2 hours, before a doctor came in to see us. It's mind-blowing, right? And let's talk about the wait times for surgeries. You see in the news, you see people waiting for months. I'm talking 6 months, 8 months, 1 year for a surgery. It makes no sense. You know what could have happened between that time, in that period of time, And I read somewhere, that Canadians are now, more prone to getting cancer. And why is that? Because People wait for so long before they are able to get healthcare. And while waiting, these ailments get worse. So it doesn't make sense. Now you see people who have the means, people who have the options, people who have the money, they get themselves out of Canada to get quick healthcare somewhere else. But not everyone can afford that. And that is one reason people are leaving Canada. Another reason is the weather. I don't know if I really need to say much about this. You must have seen my video, I'll put it up here, of one terrible winter storm we had, I think last year or so in Toronto. And Toronto is one of the best places where you can find the best weather. Toronto, Vancouver, it's not too harsh, but how much more people in Alberta, people in Manitoba, where the winter can be so crazy, So, and in a space of 1 year, you have bad weather for about 8 months. What? It's just annoying. And people who have the means, people who have the options, just get out of here. People get out of here because the weather is driving them nuts. There are many other reasons people are leaving Canada, which includes general boredom and depression. Look, a lot of people are sad, bored, because there's not so much to do. Of course, if you live in the city, there are so many things to do. If you're an outdoors person, there are so many things to do. However, you would have to really be intentional to get these things done. If you're the type that you want to stay back, you just don't want to do so much work to have fun, you get tired and you'd want to get out of here, Another reason is the lack of community mindset. We say Canadians are known for being polite, we're nice people. However, it's so hard, to form a community or to find community here because everybody is busy. People are doing multiple jobs, people are trying to make ends meet. Nobody has your time, And what makes it more difficult is how large an expanse this country is. It's so big, right? And if you really want to meet people, you spend so much time traveling, and not a lot of people like going so far. For example, our closest family member right now, or our closest friend, to get to them would drive for hours, So it's crazy. We're just lucky that, okay, we live in a GTA, so we have maybe friends within an hour drive away, 45 minutes drive. But it's not everyone wants to drive that long to do something, to meet people. And these friends you have an hour, 2 hours away, that means you'd have to plan it. You can't just get into the car and go, there has to be a lot of planning, and that means there will be less number of times that you guys will be meeting up. So if you're not careful, you get bored, you get depressed, you just want to go back home, which is crazy. Another reason is the growing woke culture and the government. A lot of Canadians are just not happy with the government, and it's beginning to show, considering the economy and all that. It's beginning to show that people are now getting pissed off, and people who have the options are leaving. And much worse is the fact that a lot of people are just staying back and waiting until they are able to leave. Just waiting to leave. It's so annoying. I heard one joke somewhere, I'm not sure, where someone said that the best place to have a cardiac arrest or to have an health issue is in a taxi. Why? Why you'd ask me, right? Because there's a high probability that your taxi driver or your Uber driver is a medical doctor who is yet to get licensed to practice in Canada. It's sick, but it looks like the reality on ground right now. Yeah, that's all. And I know there are many other reasons. However, these are the few reasons that I've learned from people around me why people are considering leaving Canada. And it's just right for anyone who is considering coming to Canada. It's just right for you to know all this before you come here. Canadians themselves are living. So you as an immigrant, if you want to come here, then you would have to be tough. You'd have to be tough, right? Because tough times don't last, but tough people do. Can't remember the exact way it's said. If you let me know what you think about this issue, make sure you put some comment in the comment box below. Thank you so much for watching to this point. Please consider liking this video, consider subscribing to my channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.